There's a bottle of soy sauce in roughly 1 in 3 households on the planet right now. It sits on restaurant tables from Seoul to São Paulo. It's in your fried rice, your marinades, your ramen, and most people use it without thinking twice. Because it's been around so long, it feels completely harmless, just a condiment. But here's what's interesting. Soy sauce is one of the most chemically complex foods you will ever eat. A single tablespoon contains hundreds of flavor compounds, a significant hit of sodium, and something that directly interacts with your gut microbiome and your brain's reward system in ways most people have absolutely no idea about. So today we're pulling it apart. Not to tell you it's dangerous, because the picture is genuinely more complicated than that, but because you deserve to know what's actually happening in your body every time you reach for that bottle. The sodium situation. Let's start with the obvious one. Because most people already know soy sauce is salty, they just dramatically underestimate how salty. A single tablespoon of standard soy sauce contains approximately 900 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium. The World Health Organization recommends a total daily intake of no more than 2,000 milligrams for an adult. That means one generous pour over your noodles represents nearly half your recommended daily sodium in a single go. And nobody uses just 1 tablespoon. Nobody! Now, sodium isn't the villain it was made out to be in the 90s. Your body genuinely needs it. The problem is the dose. A 2019 meta-analysis published in The Lancet analyzed dietary data from 195 countries and found that high sodium consumption was directly associated with 3 million deaths globally per year, primarily through elevated blood pressure leading to cardiovascular disease and stroke. It identified sodium as one of the single largest dietary risk factors in the world. A landmark study in the British Medical Journal, tracking over 3,700 participants, found that reducing daily sodium by just 1,000 milligrams, roughly the amount in that 1 tablespoon, was associated with a consistent, measurable reduction in systolic blood pressure across populations. The counterpoint, and there genuinely is one, is that fermented soy sauce may behave differently in the body than straight sodium chloride. Research from Kyushu University, published in 2017, found that bioactive peptides produced during fermentation have mild, blood pressure-lowering properties of their own, potentially partially offsetting the sodium load. So it's more nuanced than just soy sauce equals salt equals bad. But if you're already managing blood pressure, the sodium in here is not a minor consideration. What it does to your gut. Here's where it gets genuinely interesting. Traditional soy sauce, brewed and fermented over months, is the result of a complex microbial process involving mold, yeast, and bacteria working in sequence. The final product contains organic acids, peptides, and compounds that may meaningfully interact with your gut microbiome. A 2020 study in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry found that certain compounds in traditionally brewed soy sauce, specifically a group called shoyu polysaccharides, showed prebiotic-like activity selectively, promoting the growth of beneficial bacteria, including lactobacillus species. These are the same families associated with improved digestion, reduced inflammation, and a stronger gut barrier. Your intestinal lining is roughly 1 cell thick in places. When that barrier breaks down, what researchers call intestinal hyperpermeability, it's associated with systemic inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. A healthy microbiome helps maintain it. So the idea that fermented soy sauce might support that ecosystem is worth paying attention to. However, not all soy sauce is fermented. A significant proportion of cheap soy sauce is produced through acid hydrolysis, soybeans chemically broken down, using hydrochloric acid rather than traditional fermentation. It's faster and cheaper, but it produces a fundamentally different product that can contain trace amounts of a compound called 3-MCPD, which the European Food Safety Authority has classified as a probable human carcinogen at high doses. The amounts found are generally below regulatory concern, but it's a real chemical that isn't present in traditionally brewed products, and most consumers have no idea they're consuming it. If you're learning something here you genuinely didn't know before, please hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps this reach more people who probably have a bottle of soy sauce in their kitchen, with no idea what's actually in it. The cravings piece, umami in your brain. Now let's talk about the most underappreciated part, what soy sauce does to your appetite and cravings. Because this is where the neuroscience gets fascinating. Soy sauce is one of the richest sources of umami, The fifth taste, alongside sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. Umami is primarily driven by glutamate, an amino acid that forms in abundance during fermentation. Traditional brewed soy sauce can contain up to 1,700 milligrams of glutamate per 100 grams. That's an extraordinarily high concentration. When glutamate hits the receptors on your tongue, it sends a signal to your brain that reads as deep, savory satisfaction. Research published in Physiology and Behavior in 2014 found that umami-rich foods actively stimulate appetite regulation pathways in the hypothalamus, increasing feelings of satiety after a meal in ways that sweet and salty flavors alone do not. A study from the University of Sussex found that people consuming umami-enhanced foods reported higher satisfaction from smaller portions, which is genuinely useful for appetite management. But the same glutamate signaling pathways that produce that satisfying hit also interact with the brain's dopaminergic reward system. Dopamine, your brain's primary reward chemical, is partly regulated by glutamate signaling in the nucleus accumbens, the part of your brain most associated with craving and the drive to repeat pleasurable behaviors. A 2018 review in Nutrients drew a direct line between high dietary glutamate consumption and increased palatability-driven eating, which is a polite scientific way of saying you want more, not because you're hungry, but because your brain has been rewarded and wants that feeling again. This isn't a conspiracy, it's just biochemistry, but it does mean the same compound making your food taste incredible is partly responsible for why you can't stop reaching back into the bowl. What should you actually do? The first thing worth knowing is that not all soy sauce is equal. Traditionally fermented products will say, brewed, and have a short ingredient list: water, soybeans, wheat, salt. If you see additives, caramel coloring, or preservatives, you're looking at a chemically produced product. Lower sodium versions have been shown in studies to reduce overall sodium consumption without dramatically altering the flavor experience, making them a sensible swap for regular use. And understanding the umami dopamine loop isn't a reason to avoid soy sauce. It's a reason to use it intentionally. That deep satisfaction response can actually help you eat less overall if you use it to enhance whole, nutrient-dense foods rather than layering it on top of already processed ones. We eat soy sauce like it's just background flavor, but this one condiment is actively talking to your gut bacteria, interacting with your brain's reward circuits, and loading your cardiovascular system with sodium in amounts that actually matter, all at the same time, in every single pour. That's not a reason to throw it out. Some of what it does is genuinely beneficial, particularly in its traditionally fermented form, but it's a reason to stop treating it as invisible. The most powerful thing you can do with any food is understand it. And now you do. If you want more of this, real science, no sensationalism, just the stuff happening inside your body that nobody bothered to explain, subscribe to the channel. That's exactly what we're here for. See you in the next one.